Hello, my name is May Bahador, and I am in the last leg of my journey to obtain my Master of Art in Learning and Technology with Royal Road University. I'm here to tell you about my applied research project titled Mobile Learning in Indigenous Communities of Canada. A little bit about myself. I work as an instructor in Bow Valley College, online and face-to-face in Calgary, Alberta. And I also worked as programming officer, subject matter expert, and course designer in Bow Valley College in the last 5 years. And I'm also involved in Stoney Nakoda Nation in Morley, Alberta, which is an indigenous communities about 45 minutes out of Calgary. I have seen firsthand the need for technology, education, and the challenges that this indigenous community faces. And that is the reason I decided to do my research project on a topic that will hopefully in the future help this community as well as other indigenous communities in Canada. My research was intended to answer the following research question and sub-questions. What strategies might be used to design online mobile learning for adult learners in Indigenous communities in Canada? The sub-questions that were asked to support the research question were, what are effective design principles for mobile learning? What are the learning needs for adults in remote Indigenous communities? And what is unique about remote community when designing online learning education? These are the definition of some terms that I'm going to be using throughout this presentation. Indigenous people. Indigenous people are the native residents of Canada, which include Canada's First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. Indigenous people are also known as Aboriginal people and Native people in Canada. Elders. Elders are Indigenous people that are recognized in their community, not based on their age, but their wisdom and their teaching. They are intensely dedicated to share their wisdom and provide leadership. Indigenous communities of Canada. Based on reports by Government of Canada, there are more than 630 First Nation communities in Canada, which represent more than 50 nations, and each nation is located in their own reservation, which includes houses spread throughout remote areas of their land. Not all Indigenous communities are in rural areas of Canada, but in each reservation, the houses are spread out through the land. Online learning. Online learning, also known as e-learning, is distance education that is available through an internet connection. And because of that, it can be accessed worldwide as long as there is an internet available. Mobile learning. Mobile learning, also known as M-learning, refers to any learning that is done while using a mobile device, such as a smartphone or a tablet. Student engagement. Student engagement is basically a student's involvement in any activities that has an educational purpose. Behind this research was a theoretical framework called adult learning theory, or antagogy, which was first introduced by Malcolm Knowles in the early 1970s to differentiate between how adults and children learn. Knowles made the following assumptions about adult learning. Adult learners are more self-sufficient and they become less dependent and more self-directed. They are more resourceful through gaining experience as they learn. They are more willing to learn. They learn better from performance and they are more motivated than children. There are, however, some debates and criticism throughout the years about his assumptions, such as not all adults can be independent or self efficient, or not all adults are motivated to learn. Regardless of the criticism, Knowles' theory has been widely analyzed and debated, and he started a revolution in adult learning that continues to grow and evolve throughout the years. I chose adult learning theory for my research since my research is based on adult learners and also mobile and online learning, which literature has shown being motivated and self sufficient is a big part of success in online learning. Online and mobile learning. The journey of online learning started as a correspondence course in the 19th century and evolved into televised education in the 20th century. And eventually online learning was developed with the use of internet. Research has shown that learners will continue to move from classroom to computers to get their education, and one of the key to the success of online learning is adaptation of educators to teach online while still being able to make connection with their learners. The use of a mobile device is easier and more accessible for adult learners. Adult learners can benefit from using mobile devices in studies, since more and more learners have access to mobile devices and do not require much teaching in using them for learning. And these facts provide a great opportunity in adult learning that should definitely not be avoided. Engagement in online learning. Engagement of learners in an online course is one of the most important factors in their success. If the adult online learners form a bond with their peers and their instructors early on, they are more likely to stay engaged throughout the entire course. My research was conducted using a qualitative meta-synthesis as its methodology. Meta-synthesis is a methodology for exploring qualitative research, and the following were different parts of the research method I used: data search, quality assessment, and data analysis. Data search. Initially, I searched two different databases for relevant articles from qualitative studies. I chose the articles that were peer-reviewed, written in English, and were publicly available. I used key terms to narrow down my search, such as Canadian First Nation, Aboriginal education, online learning, mobile learning, Indigenous learners. After accumulating 99 peer review articles, I moved on to quality assessment, and I used the following steps to narrow down and choose the articles that I was going to analyze. First, were the research aims clearly stated? Was the study designed to achieve these aims? Were the data collection methods sufficiently detailed? And was the purpose of the data analysis clear? At the end of this process, I had 37 articles that I was going to analyze. In data analysis steps, I began my data analysis by carefully reviewing all articles, and if necessary, I read them as well to get familiar with them. After reading and reviewing the articles, I try to compare them with each other and see the differences and also the similarities. And after that, I organize them into groups and eventually group them into themes. The following themes were taken from the selected data that may help in answering the research question and its sub-questions. Emergent technology. Rapidly growing use of mobile devices such as the smartphone created a rising opportunity in educational setting. learning anywhere and anytime. One of the common themes throughout the articles I read was the flexibility of mobile learning that enables adult learners to learn anytime and anywhere. Learners have the ability to access their online mobile courses regardless of their geographical location or the time of the day. Effective design principle of mobile learning. Research has shown that the following design principle can help with the success of mobile learning. Use simple instructions, providing community of learners, access to tutors, use engaging methods, and persistence data access. Multimedia principle. One of the themes that emerge from the literature is the multimedia principle and the importance of it through creating mobile learning. Multimedia principle. One of the themes that emerged from the literature was the multimedia principle and the importance of it through creating mobile learning. Mobile devices allow sound, text, pictures, and video files to be downloaded to the device and uploaded from the device. Remote Indigenous communities of Canada. Learning gaps. The gap in education between the Indigenous and non-Indigenous population was evident in this research. As shown by research, Canadian Indigenous learners face various systematic barriers that affect their ability to access and continue in post-secondary education. This has resulted in an educational gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous population in Canada. Learning barriers. It has been clear through many of the articles that adult learners in the Indigenous communities of Canada face many barriers, and followings are the ones that emerge from this research. Personal barriers, such as family obligations, social barriers, physical barriers, such as the location of the communities that they live in, institutional barriers, such as hostile environments that exist and prejudice, and also lack of instructors' knowledge of Indigenous culture. Mobile online learning in Indigenous communities of Canada. Mobile learning has been successful in Indigenous communities of countries such as Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. However, Canada is behind in the global community in creating and implementing mobile learning to support Indigenous education in remote areas. Access to technology. Even though access to the internet is a barrier in some of these communities, most of the learners have access to a mobile device that they can use in their learnings. Elders' influence. Elders have a significant role in Indigenous communities as mentors who offer guidance and have access to them through the learning process is a key to keeping the learners motivated. Indigenous learning. Providing the indigenous communities of Canada with the flexibility to have a say in their own education can play a key role in their success. Educators' training and awareness. A teacher's lack of knowledge of Indigenous culture and unwillingness to learn is educational barrier in Indigenous communities of Canada. And educating the educators is one of the keys to a successful educational design and delivery. This will wrap my presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.